Hey book baddies, welcome to my channel. My name is Kiriana, and as you can see from the title down below, today I'm going to be talking about The Green Mile by Stephen King. So to give a little bit of a backstory, I'm still new into reading Stephen King books. I did grow up watching his films when I was younger, but there were a lot of stories that I didn't know were his to begin with. And I always just figured Stephen King, the writer, only wrote really scary stories. That was my thought. Because of Pet Sematary, The Perfect Storm is kind of terrifying. And so I never really wanted to read his books for that. And also the fact that his books were massive and thick. And I was like, no, I'm intimidated. I'm glad you guys enjoy him, but no, thank you. As I've been in the booktube community for a while, there is a YouTuber, his name is Ian, I will leave his channel linked down below, who is constantly talking about Stephen King, how much he loves Stephen King. He read only Stephen King for 24 hours. It's bonkers. But he really convinced me to give Stephen King a try. And I started with Carrie because it was one of his shorter stories, and I was like, okay, like I can handle this small of a story. And I was shocked at how emotional that was. The movie is so heavy on the horror side of the story, and the book really gives a human touch. You just want to hold this poor girl the entire time. Then I decided to read The Shining because I had seen the movie and I didn't understand it, didn't like the ending. I was confused. I didn't think it was that scary, honestly. And I figured if I read the book, maybe the ending of the movie would make sense. And I gotta tell you, I understand why Stephen King does not like that movie. It is inspired by his book, but it is completely different. And again, here we are with The Shining, which I went into thinking scary story. It was so emotional. I cried my eyes out at the end of that story. And it was crazy because what's happening with the hotel and when the family gets attacked at the end of the book is so much more terrifying than anything that happened inside the movie. That book I definitely recommend as your first Stephen King book if you've never read him. And then we have The Green Mile, which was a movie I had no idea Stephen King was a part of. Same with Shawshank Redemption. Had no idea those were Stephen King stories. The Green Mile, the movie, absolutely broke me. And so I figured, why did I say it like that? Weird. I figured that since I already knew the story and knew I loved it, it would be a good place to add another one of his books because I doubted I would dislike this reading journey. And I was right. I gave this a 4 out of 5 star rating on my Goodreads. I did want a little bit more out of the book since I'd seen the movie. And correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I'm pretty sure that Stephen King wrote the script for the movie. So it's probably why they're so similar. After the Shining debacle, he probably was like, no, I want control of my material. Maybe I'm 100% wrong, but that's what my brain's telling me is correct. If you have no idea what The Green Mile is about, we are following the point of view of Paul Edgecombe, or Combe, and he is a guard that works at a penitentiary, and he is on death row. The reason the death row section is called The Green Mile is because of the green linoleum that leads from the cells to the shed where they do the executions by electric chair, also known as Old Sparky. And there are other guards that we follow. We have his friend Brutal, we have Dean, we have Harry, and then one of the worst villains ever written, Percy. He made me feel so icky the entire story. I don't think I've ever hated a fictional character as much as Percy, except for maybe when I read about Professor Umbridge in Harry Potter. Still, Percy's worse. And it makes you just feel so much anger at how somebody can be so disgusting. And my brain kept going back to how Nazis probably were during World War II. It makes you so uncomfy. And what happens to him in the end? Good. Good. I don't care. We also were following a few different prisoners. We have Edward Delacroix. We have John Coffey. And then I can't remember the name of the other prisoner off the top of my head, but I know his nickname was Billy the Kid. It's a nickname. He's not really Billy the Kid. And 1932 is the year that we're in. And that was the last year that Paul Edgecombe actually worked on the Green Mile. And we kind of switched back and forth between what's happening in that year and Paul in a retirement home where he's telling this story. Like, he just needs to get it out of him because it's just been sitting there for so long. And this story has been around for a very long time, so I'm sure most people watching this know the story. But just in case you don't know what happens, I'm not going to spoil it for you. But we're basically just following this year in this penitentiary, and it's heartbreaking. And it makes you think, because it deals very heavily with what's good, what's evil, and the question of why people are the way they are. And I don't remember the quote word for word, but there's a part in the story where Paul is asking, like, why does Percy hate so much? Like, what is his problem? And the answer to that is sometimes there isn't an answer. And it's so true. I think when you don't have an evil spirit, you can't wrap your head around how someone can do something so bad. And you're just like, why? What makes you this way? And the thing is it's hard to swallow the fact that there sometimes really isn't an explanation. People are just not always good people, and that sucks. Our world can be amazing and beautiful, but it also just sucks. And I got that firsthand in 2024. And so this book definitely hit a little bit different, having to deal with the murder of my mother. So, I mean, Stephen King truly is a great writer, not only with the story itself, but his characters are very believable. You definitely can tell the difference between each character. Each character has their own quirks, and I love that. And it feels so real and so personal. And so if, like me, you've always kind of put Stephen King off for whatever reason, I definitely think that The Shining or The Green Mile are amazing places to start to get to know Stephen King as a writer and to realize that he doesn't just tell scary, creepy stories. There's a lot going on behind everything he's doing. I will say that this does take place during 1932, so there are a lot of racist views and language within this story. So just a warning before you pick up this book, that is in there. But John Coffey is a character that will forever live in my soul. And one of the biggest things between the book and the movie is I feel like we get to spend a lot of time with the prison mouse, Mr. Jingles, which I swore in the movie his name was Mr. Jangles. But in the book, it's J.I., not J.A. It's Jingles, or Steamboat Willie, depending on which way you want to call him. And I do like that in the book, he is more of a main character, and I thought that was really cool. But again, 4 out of 5 stars. I definitely recommend Stephen King's books, and I hope I can convince somebody to pick them up. Fantastic. If you have stayed to the end of the video, thank you so much. I truly appreciate you. Please like and subscribe. It really means a lot to me. The next video will be a video vlog of me reading Twilight for the 20th anniversary. So if you're interested in that, please stick around and I'll catch you guys in that next video.